Hello. Uh, it's been a while. I mean, it's been 6 days, but that was a longer break than I intended to take. But it has been a long week for me. I mean, Monday night I was actually busy. I was taking a comedy class, which I've been really looking forward to for a while, and I had a good time. But early Tuesday morning, while I was lying in bed, I turned around too hard and I broke my toenail. I almost broke it off completely. Now it's loose, and it is still hurting, and just it has been life just hit me hard the last few days, and I haven't wanted to do anything. But here I am now. I'm getting back on the horse. It really is unfair that I couldn't find the time to talk about Big Brother this week because it's been amazing. It's been such a chaotic week, and there have been some pretty good feeds, except for one day when there was not a lot happening. But yeah, a lot has happened since last Saturday around midnight. I think it might have actually even been Sunday morning when I was last doing one of these. So I still have a. I've been taking a lot of notes, stuff I wanted to talk about, and I want to start with something that a lot of people have already moved on from. They don't really remember it too much. It was Derek F. And he said that he wants a straight son. And you shouldn't root for that kind of thing when it comes to your kids. Okay, you're supposed to love your kids unconditionally, and you shouldn't even say stuff like that. It doesn't sound right to me. And that wasn't even the only thing. Same day, I'm pretty sure this was Sunday. Both of these. He says that he doesn't get why the Washington football team changed their name. Like they were originally the Washington Redskins, and that is a term that is like some people like that's a term for Native Americans that is not especially appreciated anymore. So, that's why they changed the name. And then he said that his favorite player was Aaron Hernandez, the murderer. Now, listen, I am from New England. Like, where the Patriots play is not even that far away from me. It's maybe a half-hour drive. And the Patriots are big here. Like, we're probably more into football than any other sport here in Massachusetts. And when I tell you, when everything came out about Aaron Hernandez, we turned on him immediately. We let him go. It's like, oh, you did all this? Screw you. We want nothing to do with you anymore. So for Derek F to say that, I thought was really stupid. And I even saw people online defending him, like, well, you can still separate the person from what he did. They separate the player from what he did. And I'm like, no, you can't. Not when what they did was murdering people. Sassy Sip. So yeah, that was a very, very stupid thing that Derek F said. And the episode aired Sunday night. We saw, we got to see who Kyla nominated, and we already knew it was Frenchie and Brittany. What we didn't know was how badly Brittany took it. I mean, she was a hysterical mess. And then the Wednesday episode, it went into it more. Like the whole team had to comfort her. And like Frenchie was saying, I don't give up. This is just gonna light a fire under me. And like that's not what happened at all. Because the veto competition had already happened. Derek X had already won, and we already knew that Frenchie was just like, I give up. He was talking about wanting to self evict, and Derek F was the one who was talking him out of it. And of course, there was no mention of that the on the Sunday episode or the Wednesday episode or even the Thursday episode. Like they never showed that Frenchie really just wanted to quit. So that was dumb. Now, right after the nominations, now people had known about this to an extent, but I don't think they really knew exactly what it was. But Tiffany was crying in Oz's arms, but like they're like on the feeds, people were seeing like they started laughing a couple times, but seeing the Wednesday episode in full, we got to see that that was part of their game plan. Tiffany was fake crying into Ozza. Like when anyone would come in, she'd just like bury herself in Ozza, and then when they'd leave, they'd both just start laughing. And like that was their way of secretly talking game with each other, and that was iconic. I loved it. And I'm just thinking like Tiffany and Ozza, their friendship, like this is something that could be very good in the game. But as of tonight, there has been sort of an update in that, so I will get to that eventually. But there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about first. Um, Frenchie was saying to Kyland, like, you keep me here, I'll be a bigger target than you, I'll be a shield for you. And Kyland just wasn't buying it because Frenchie has already proven himself to be way too crazy and unpredictable in the house. And like he's too much of a risk to keep around. And okay, so I gotta talk about Brent. Now before I was saying that I didn't like the way that he talked to and about the people of color in the house. Well, that was his thing week one. His thing week two is showing that same level of disrespect and condescension to the women in the house. Like, okay, Brent has had a little bit of a crush on Alyssa for a while now, and she wanted to be his best friend, and he rejected her for that because that wasn't what he wanted. He wanted something else. And of course, by something else, I and a lot of people took that to mean something more. Like he wants a showmance with her. And I'll be honest, I took one look at Brent and I'm like, this guy's gonna get into showmance. I thought he'd get a showmance with Whitney, to be honest. But that hasn't really happened. And, like, none of the women want to be in a showmance with him. But at first, there were women that still wanted to be close with him. Whitney and Hannah are on his team, so they were like, yeah, we'll keep trying to work with you. And Alyssa, like I just said, she wanted to be his best friend, but he said that he wants something else, and he said there's plenty of other women if he can't get from Alyssa what he really wants. And like he just this led this was the precursor to his long campaign. Like his all week he's been saying like, okay, well, two guys are going now because he knew Frenchie was going next. And he's like, okay, so with two guys going, we got to get a girl out next. And he was saying this to everybody, including the women in the house. I'm pretty sure he said it to all of them. And if not all of them knew. And like, dude, you can't say that the women have to be targeted. You can't say that to the women, okay? Like, that's a pretty easy way to take it personally. It's just dumb. Like, really, dude? And then, like, just, he kept at it. And, you know, by the time the veto meeting happened and the nominees were locked, everyone knew that Frenchie was going. So they all started looking ahead to this week. And the general consensus was like, yeah, Brent's got to go. Everyone was talking to each other, and they're like, this guy Brent, he is not worth keeping around. Some people, like even Whitney, has called him out. Like she has straight up called him sexist, which I did not expect from her. And like he just he's just so oblivious, and he just keeps going. He just keeps talking about it. Like even now, he's still talking about it. And it's like, here's what I wrote on Twitter that I'm proud of, and I put it in my phone so I made sure I didn't forget and I didn't have to go digging for it. When it comes to women, he has both an entitlement to and fear of them on a physical level. And this is why I want him not only eliminated, but erased from future BB chats. Like, there are Big Brother contestants no one talks about anymore, okay? Like, I just watched BB17 for the first time. Other than Davon, I had never heard of any of the pre-jurors before. Like I had heard whispers of Audrey because like I knew there was one transgender contestant over the years, but I never heard of Jace, never heard of Jeff, never heard of Jason, never heard of Clay. No one talks about them anymore. I mean, Jason, I guess to an extent. Like now that okay, I've seen some talks about Jason, but the rest of them, like they're just gone from Big Brother lore because they just meant nothing to the game, and that is what I hope is Brent's fate. I hope he is just erased from from Big Brother. I don't want anyone to talk about him. I don't want anyone to look at him and say, "Oh, this is one of my favorite players ever." I just want him to be forgotten because it's what he deserves. It might knock him down a couple pegs, but I mean, everyone, even his own team, the Aces, like if Whitney, Derek X, or Hannah were to win HOH, the whole team is safe. But they want him out so bad that they were all like, "Yeah, we're just gonna throw HOH so that we can get him out." I don't know if Whitney was fully on board with the throwing, and well, I feel like she probably was, but I don't know if Derek X and Hannah were overly confident that she would. But that is something else I will get to. Um, yeah, Frenchie, he just gave up. He threw in the towel after all of his big talk, and like he was. I mean, he did try to campaign, but like he just like he had screwed himself so bad that it was kind of hopeless. Here's what his move should have been. He should have, once he realized that Kyland was looking at him as a possible nominee, he should have gone to the rest of the slaughterhouse because that was still six other people he could have rallied. He should have been like, Kylan can't be trusted. He is already working against us. He's planning on putting me up. And maybe just to make it a little spicy, he could have just been like, oh, maybe he's putting up another member of the slaughterhouse. And then like he could have possibly rallied them together. I have one viewer. Hello. I don't know how long you've been here, but thank you for being here. But he could have rallied the slaughterhouse together, and of course he would have to get one more person. Ozza wasn't officially in the slaughterhouse. Brittany wasn't officially in it, but like, whichever one of them wasn't nominated, he could like, you know, he could have got. Well, I guess it would have had it would have had to have been Ozza, and she was pretty loyal to him, so he could have got her in, and then that would have been 7 votes right there, and he could have rallied to keep himself, and of course he probably would have done the whole fake white knight fall on the sword. I couldn't do that to Brittany thing, but this is Big Brother. Okay, you're gonna have to do it eventually if you want the money. All right, look, it's part of the game. You got to do it. Sometimes you have to do it sooner than you'd like, but if you got to do it, you got to do it. And that's what he didn't seem to get. And that honestly was probably one of the most irritating things about him. The fact that he's this alleged super fan. I think he was the one that had like a Big Brother Bible of strategy, and he didn't do any of that. That's what his move should have been, but instead he just throws the slaughterhouse under the bus, turns them all against him, so that by the time he's campaigning, like everyone's just already done with him. They're like, "Yeah, we know you're going. We're done with you." And then comes eviction night, and first of all, on eviction night we got a little segment, or actually maybe it was on the Wednesday episode, but we got a segment of Brent and Hannah together, like kind of flirting almost. Well, Brent flirting with her and her getting an edit that makes it look like she's flirting back. But like that's really not what's happening. Hannah doesn't like him. Hannah's got a thing for Derek X. That's what they should be pushing. And I'm a little worried that like maybe some of the casuals, if Brent does go and Hannah and Derek X start getting really, really close, then people will be like, "Oh well, Hannah's just betraying Brent now. Like she was supposed to be with him," because like people are gonna be like this. But yeah, it's just like I don't know why they did that. Just it's been a while now that she has outright said she has a crush on Derek X, and he flirts with her a little bit. Derek X has like really strong relationships with just about all the women in the house, and considering that the men are going fast, that's a really good move for him. Now, look, I just want to throw this out there. I don't think the women are planning to make it so that the final 8 are all women because they like Derek X, they like Kyland, they still like Derek F for some reason. He is still very well liked in that house. Like he is not anyone's target. And Xavier, he seems to be in an okay spot also. So like yeah, that was just something I wanted to get off my chest because this whole big thing. Oh, there's a female alliance. We got to get them out before they get us out. Like they're really not trying to do that. They're getting out. They got out Travis because he was just like boring and didn't really seem to have much game sense and didn't seem to really care that he was there. And then Frenchie, they nominated him because he was a chaotic mess. And then sure enough, he was evicted. 11-1. Derek F was the one vote to keep him. And I knew exactly what would happen. I didn't just know it would be 11-1. I knew that the one was going to be Derek F. I knew it. I knew it. I called it. It was pretty obvious. Derek F had an infatuation for Frenchie, and I don't know what it was. Oh yeah, and Brittany rapped as her "Save Me" speech. That was interesting. A lot of people on social media were cringing at it, but I was just like, look, I have been on the Boston subway system many times. There are a lot of rappers that ride trains, and they will just give you free samples of their music. Like they'll just start rapping, and showing you what they got, and they're awful. They're just the worst ever. So believe me when I tell you, Brittany was not even close to the worst thing I've ever heard in that regard. So yeah, I just thought everyone just went in a little too hard on her. And then when he was evicted, Julie was talking to him like, "Do you regret not taking 2 weeks of safety, not going for it?" Because he would have got it, assuming that he still played the same way that he did. But he's like, "Nah, I don't regret it. I couldn't risk not seeing pictures of my family." Like, dude, it's week one. You'll have other chances. And like Claire would have been HOH if he had gone for it and lost. And Claire doesn't strike me as the kind of player that would have gone for him or his team. In fact, I feel like she would have been grateful, like, "Oh, well, you made me HOH, so I'm not going to target you now." So yeah, that's. I want to talk about Claire for a second. She was like, "I happily vote to evict Frenchie on eviction night." That was pretty great. Oh, the last thing I'm going to say about Frenchie, just leading up to his eviction when he was campaigning after he said he wasn't going to campaign against Brittany. Like, look, if you're campaigning against the other person. Like, you can spin it however you want, but you're campaigning so that you don't go home, which means someone else will go home. But he was going around talking to everybody, and I just loved how there was like a house-wide smile and nod campaign. He's doing his thing. They're all like, "Mm-hmm, yes, good point. Okay, I'll consider that." And it was pretty funny to watch because like they're all just like deep down, Frenchie, that they're all faking it. He had to have known. If there was even 5% of truth to his superfan status, he would have known that they were all playing him. But I guess probably not because I seem to recall him saying like, "Okay, I got six now. You can be the seventh." And it's like, dude, you you've actually deluded yourself at this point. But yes, Frenchie's game came to an end. And honestly, my myself, my dad, my brother, we did a three-way Big Brother draft. We each got five, and one person was left out. Frenchie was left out. Yeah, and like when he won that first HOH, I was just like, "You gotta be kidding me!" The one person no one picked is the first HOH, but then he just handled it so badly that he was gone week two, and like that is pretty amazing. So like it actually ended up being worth it in the end that none of us picked him first because the one that got left out had the biggest and fastest fall from grace, like ever. So, yeah, that was pretty great. So, we get the HOH competition. Now, Julie was kind of vague at the beginning of the episode as to whether or not there would be an HOH by the end of it. Like, we didn't know what kind of competition it would be, and she didn't say, like, when the hour is up, we will have a new HOH. But then, like, when I saw them all lined up for like the questions where you turn the thing to answer, I'm like, okay, we're definitely gonna have a new HOH because this competition always goes fast. This is always a live episode HOH competition that they always get done in time. So Brent was out first, which was great. And remember, the rest of his team, especially Derek X and Hannah, were gonna throw it. But Brent was out immediately. Whitney was not out right away. I think she made it to like the fourth question before she got it wrong. Dariax and Hannah, they hung in there the whole time because I still feel like they don't fully trust her completely. I feel like they think she's closer to Brent than she actually is. But they were playing it safe. I get it. And when it comes to the last question, it's down to Derek X, Hannah, Xavier, Sarah Beth, and Alyssa. And Derek X and Hannah immediately put out the wrong answer. And I think Hannah even said it's false, but she switched it to true. Like she turned the box to true. And then when they got it wrong, they both just like celebrated. And it was a very similar celebration too. They're just like, yeah. Like they were happy. They knew what they were doing. They knew that was the moment that they had to throw the competition. And it was probably not intentional on his part, but Xavier became the new head of household. And I'm like, yes, this guy was my first draft pick. And I was happy. I was very, very happy. So, we still got the wild card competition before nominations. So like, okay, let's just get through that, see what happens, and then we'll see what Xavier decides to do. And I I think that Xavier ultimately made probably the best move for his game, but he took a very messy road to get there. And a couple other people made the road a little messy too. And I love it. I am here for it. I want it to be messy. I'm tired of being bored of this show. Okay? So, wild card competition happens. The players were Brittany, Derek X, and Tiffany. And apparently it was some kind of like knockout competition, and Tiffany and Derek X like teamed up basically and took Brittany out of it. And apparently it was done in a way that was very obvious because I guess everyone was watching this one. Just like, yeah, they've watched the first two as well. Did they watch the first one? No, no, they didn't watch the first one. They watched the second one. But they the house guests were like, okay, so Tiffany and Derek X definitely just teamed up and took Brittany out of this deliberately. And then in the end, Tiffany won, and whatever the power was, we still don't really know. She turned it down. She just made sure everything was normal. So I guess she technically does not have immunity for the week, but I'm not worried about her at all. And like this caused some fallout in the house, and this was on top of Xavier being kind of unclear with who he wanted to nominate. Like he had been talking to the house, and he was getting the impression that yes, we all kind of want Brent out, and it seemed like he was okay with that. But what was unclear was who the second person would be, and there was like some people were trying to steer him towards Whitney, but he didn't really seem to have much interest in putting her up. Like he just sort of acknowledged that people were telling him that, but he didn't really seem to want to put her up. And some people were like, "No, put her up. You're putting Brent up, so put someone else from his team up. That way, like they'll think that it's just their team that's mad at Xavier when in fact Derek X and Hannah are in on it." I don't know. I guess maybe Whitney is really more into it, and she's like closer to Xavier. I mean, they have been cuddling a lot lately, so that could be a part of it. But he was starting to lean towards possibly Brittany as his second nominee. And Azza was the one who seemed the most upset by them targeting Brittany in the wild card competition. And like she went as far as to call Tiffany fake, and I'm like, no, please, I love you both. I don't want to have to pick sides here. And then like she was trying to get a straight answer out of Xavier, but he's a guy who kind of plays things close to his chest, so he couldn't get a straight answer. But like she was starting to get the sense that it was going to be Brittany, and she's like, "Come on, you can't put Brittany up again. Put me up." And I'm like, "Azza, don't. Like, come on, this is week 3. You're not really doing this, right?" But then she's like, "No, no, no, put me up." And she said it like there must have been 7 or 8 minimum updates from the BB updates page of Azza volunteering to Xavier to go up as a pawn. And I'm like, Azza, what are you doing? Like Azza is really loyal to the Joker's team, and it's like this team is not even going to be officially together much longer. Like one more week, and then you're going to be allowed to target each other. Like you shouldn't be too hung up on it like you are. And like I was just hearing everything she was saying, and I'm like, Azza, you are dropping a few spots for me in my ranking. But like I didn't want to give up on her. I'm just like, come on, Azza, just talk to Tiffany, get things straightened, and just like have some faith in Xavier. Like the plan is Brent, so just go with it. So in the end, the nominations finally happen. Xavier does put up Brent and Brittany, and apparently Brittany once again does not take it well. And Brent is just going around like, well, you've just destroyed trust with my team. We're never going to trust you again. And it's like, dude, your team is in on it to get you out. And it's just like, okay, going back a little, Xavier did kind of imply to Brent that he was going to put him up. Like, he was kind of giving him, like, pawn vibes. And that's the part of Xavier's HOA so far where I'm like, dude, you shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. I'm like, come on, can't anyone be blindsided anymore? Just, just let it happen. Just do it and live with it. But I mean, just just since the nominees were announced, just seeing Brent going around just so convinced that he's got the votes to stay, that he's got his team support. It's like it's provided me with such sadistic glee. I'm just like he is so delusional. He has no idea that everyone hates him. Everyone wants him out. And oh my god, it's pretty funny. And look, I'm seeing people who are like, I want Brent to win the veto now because it'll make things more exciting. And I'm like, in general, I agree with that. When there is a big house target, I'm rooting for them to win the veto to shake things up. But not when they're as irritating and insufferable and condescending and just straight up unlikable as Brent. Okay, this is coming from someone who has him on their draft team. He can go. Like, he should go. Just just get him out. We don't need him. And yeah, it's just like I've been loving it. I've been seeing some people who are like, this is just gonna lead to boring feeds. I'm like, when? Like when everyone was saying that about Frenchie, like when he leaves, it's they're gonna be boring feeds. I'm like, this is madness. Okay, like things are kind of going our way for the most part, like the way that most of the fandom wants, but it's still going that way in such a messy way that it's pretty entertaining and it's kind of hard not to love. Like I was hate reading updates last year. Just every time I read a new update of BB22. I'm like, this is disgusting. I hate it. But this season, it is so much fun. And just the delusion of Brent is what's making it fun this week. Like every week so far, there's been a new element of fun. Like first, it was like, how many people is Frenchie gonna lie to? That was week one, and then week two, it's like we just we got to watch Frenchie spiral and crash and burn. And now this week it's just gonna be Brent operating under the delusion that he's safe. And I'm here for it. You know, I'm here for it. I'm loving it so far. It's been pretty enjoyable. This whole season has just been so good. I just love it so much. And uh, there was some history made also that's worth mentioning. Kylan and Xavier. They're the first two back to back black HOHs. That is a huge deal. Like last season, there were two black contestants. Well, two black male contestants. They didn't win anything. And you know what? There were four black contestants. Two males, two females. Not one HOH between them. Two vetoes and a power between them, but no HOHs. So yeah, I am loving this season. I'm loving the way it's going. I'm loving that the people who've been targeted so far are people that I don't care about, people that I don't like. Travis, I just didn't care about. Frenchie and Brent, I actively did not and do not like. So, you know, I'm hoping that this week continues to deliver. It continues to be fun, but I do hope that Ozza and Tiffany make amends a little more. They've talked and like they've kind of made amends to an extent, but like I think they could do a little more. They could have a little more togetherness. Like I want them to get back to the point where Tiffany can be fake crying in Oz's lap, and that's their way of talking game secretly. That's what I like to see. I talked for way too long without taking a sip. My mouth is getting pretty dry. So, is there anything else I wanted to talk about what's been happening today? I mean, just like it's not even just Brent's team; it's the whole house. They're pretending to be shocked that he's nominated and that it's such a big deal. And again, this is my sadistic glee. I'm just like, you people are laying it on so thick, and he's still not catching it. It's amazing. All right, I'm just double checking what I've been saying. Oh yeah, they're talking about how Christian keeps looking different every time. Like this is him now. Like I see this picture and I see 1980s Weird Al. When Tiffany straightened his hair the other day, that was a pretty good look. He should keep that one. Oh yeah, this is something I said earlier. I think it would be so great if one of Brent's teammates wins the veto and then doesn't use it on him. Like the betrayal on his face will be delicious. Oh yeah, I said that. I hope that when his team does goodbye messages to him, like remember Angela in BB20, how mean her goodbye messages were? Like that level. That's what I want Brent to receive. Oh, and if Derek X rubs in about how he's gonna try to get with Hannah now, oh, that would be evil, and I would love it. I don't mind a little evil on Big Brother. It's got to be done right. To me, evil on Big Brother, it's like a spice. There's a proper way to incorporate it, but if you do too much, you're gonna hate it. It's gonna ruin the whole plate for you. Yeah, I said that I would have personally done Brent and Whitney because I think I might have tried to go along that path of like just make it look like you're only going after one team, especially since the Aces are the only other team that still has four people besides the Kings, Xavier's team. So like, he could have just done that to just be like, we're like that could have been. I don't know if he should have said that outright, but that would have been a good reason, I guess. And then if one of them came off the block, then I would say Brittany would be the replacement nominee. That's what I would have done. All right, now it's time to check the timeline and see what's been going on since I've been talking. Apparently, Brent thinks America is going to be shocked and outraged by his nomination. You really don't know this show, do you? Oh yeah, Alyssa and Christian, they're like basically official now. Like they're cuddling in bed pretty hard, and it's like, okay, fine. One of you will have to go pre-jury just to spare us all the headache down the road of having to break up a showmance. A lot of people want Christian gone first. I'm one of the few that actually would like Alyssa gone first because for whatever reason, like Christian, I don't hear him talk too often. Like I don't see him in too many updates, but every now and then, like he says something where I'm like, this guy might actually be a half decent player if he actually starts, being noticeable. Alyssa says that her family's gonna kill her for getting into a showmance. Like, do they never want you to get married? Although I guess it is different with it being on national television and the internet 24 hours a day. Well, mostly 24 hours a day. Oh, yeah. So Alyssa and Christian were making out in Xavier's HOH bed, and he caught them. Okay, I just watched a really weird clip of Brittany, like, doing like a and then falling over. I don't know. It was just it took so long and it looked so deliberate. I don't know. Yeah. Brent's team, they are convincing. Like they're really making it look like they're shocked and outraged and appalled that he's nominated. Like, look at these two. Yeah, just look at them. A lot of people are like, just give them all the awards, all the acting awards. Some people are like, give him an Oscar, and I'm like, this is TV. It would be an Emmy. Oh, and apparently Brent is saying more sexist bullcrap. Goody. Hmm. Tiffany and Ozza are not. They're not doing too well right now. Tiff. Tiff is really mad at her. Like, I don't get why Ozza is so diehard about like her team. Like, okay, I gotta say this. Um, the Joker's team is by far the team that is most like it's most aligned with itself. Like I feel like I mean Derek F. Yeah, he's in the cookout and the slaughterhouse, and Oz is in the cookout, and Brittany is in one of the alliances. I don't remember which one, but she's in an all-female alliance. But like they're in the least amount of alliances in the house. It's like they're all just sticking together really hard, and I'm like, why are you doing this? These teams are not gonna matter after like Thursday after next. That will be when the teams cease to matter. And you're all still so gung ho about this. Oh, Brittany wants to make Xavier feel bad that she's crying. She's just gonna cry to make him feel worse. Like that's petty. Oh, and now apparently Xavier and Alyssa are cuddling together. Like, okay, that was sudden. Tiffany and Ozza need to talk. Someone's saying they need to talk, and Kyle should mediate. I agree. Hmm. Yeah, so it's not too much going on feeds right now. All right. Well, that's about it. I'll try BB updates one last time, and if there's nothing there, then I think I'm just gonna call it a night. I'm sure it's not that exhilarating to just watch me going through my phone. No, just the last thing is about the Christian and Alyssa showmance, which now apparently Alyssa's getting all cuddly with Xavier. But Whitney was cuddly with Xavier already, so this. Hey, look, Xavier, he does look like a male model. He's got like the most perfectly sculpted face ever. But like a lot of people are saying that like his HOH is already a disaster. It's already a mess. I'm like, look, he just did his nominations. Veto hasn't even happened yet, and as long as Brent still goes, this will still be a good week. You know, to me, a good HOH is one where you're not immediately the target as soon as your reign is done. But that's just me. Like Frenchie, he had a bad HOH because he was the next target. I'm gonna try not to talk about Frenchie too much anymore because he was uh he was hard to deal with, and good riddance to him. And you know, I hope that he can look back and see what he did wrong. But like he knows he did wrong, but he doesn't really seem to want to admit he did wrong. It's confusing. But yeah, he is gone. Although I will kind of miss calling him Chump Elizaze. I really like that nickname that I came up with for him. But yeah, that'll do it for this stream. I'll be back. I'll see if I can do one tomorrow night. I might be able to. But yeah, that'll do it for now, and I will see you next time.